Boom. According to that, I am live. Welcome, I made it. I'm sorry. Oof. I thought I'd record a video just before this. And I did, and I succeeded. It was for my Japanese channel that will go up after this. However, I just realized I had unplugged my mic during the week and it detects it as a new mic, and I had to reset the mic, and then the levels were too low and I had to increase the levels. You know, these things happen. So welcome to Tokyo Tonight. This is Sunday, Sunday, April 19, 2015, and welcome to you all. Good to see, good turnout as usual in the comments there. And yes, welcome. A lot of good topics tonight. A lot of stuff going on as usual. The usual routine. I'm going to try to get this done in an hour, which means that I am going to go through the topics that I've got prepared to interact with you guys. And I've actually got two tracks queued up for tonight. Well, two ready, so you can help me choose which one to play. But yes, great to see a lot of people there. Bebo Drippin, Benjamin Duck. It's kind of distracting. I can actually now see myself playing back in the past. 40 seconds ago. It's a bit late tonight, but yes. Milchman, and you are indeed catching this live. Congratulations. El Camado, great to see you. Barringer, we got everybody here. So as usual, everything is awesome. And whoa, Lisa sometimes, Ben Duncan. Nightworks Japan, good to see you. Hey, Nightworks Japan, good to see you. And everyone there. Oh, I get so distracted. I want to talk to everyone. Rikana the fairy, the fairy. I love her hair as well, actually. And oh, awesome to see you. Oh, Charlie no Sekatsu. Look, everybody's here. It's like a party. Speaking of parties, this is probably actually my topic somewhere. I'm going to be going to the to the Taco Bell opening party tomorrow night. I got an invite at my blog, which I did in Japanese, my video blog, where I was highlighting that Taco Bell's coming to Japan, and I highlighted the hilarious Facebook thread that came up when I mentioned this fact, and the diversion of the American commenters who said it's the most awesome thing in the world, and the people who said it'll give you diarrhea, and the people who said it's the most awesome thing in the world that gives you diarrhea. And I wasn't really sure what to make of these comments. I thought it was funny, so I made a video about it in Japanese. And Taco Bell social media team, being good sports that they are, gave me a free invite to the opening party, which means tomorrow night I guess I'm going to find out, is it awesome and will it give me diarrhea? It's like a scientific experiment. Very much appreciate the invite anyway, and I guess I'm going to go check them out. I used to actually, I guess I'm going to do a video on this when I do it tomorrow night, but I used to actually, among my many former lives, I was a cook at a Greek restaurant once, and I love lamb, I love kebabs, I love kebabs, right? And I think that probably these tacos seem to have the same place in, as post-drinking food for Americans that kebabs have for, Commonwealth people. I'm a big fan of kebabs. I like meat, in my quesadillas or whatever you call them, or your tacos or whatever. So I don't know. Well, we're going to find out anyway. We're going to find out if this new shop, which is opening up in Shibuya, is any good. And I'm going to give my honest opinion, because I have to be honest, I don't get that excited about the idea of eating tacos, to be perfectly honest. But we'll see. I mean, they're free. Tell me, you warn me now. A free taco is something I should be avoiding. It is late at night, so maybe I want to avoid it. I don't know. But anyway, let us get into it. And Benjamin Harris, indeed. I mean, who doesn't like kebabs? So I'm hoping that tacos are like kebabs. I could be mistaken. Who knows? But yes. So anyway, let's get into the topics. In fact, let me just line up that window right. Boom. That's about it. Put it on there and make sure the sound is all queued up. And I've still got my thing from last week, don't I? Let the new channel begin. I was setting up so quickly I don't have a new topic. So that's a really fast cutover. I like a smooth cutover. That's nicer. There we go. See, that's a cutover. So in terms of the topics tonight, we have Lucas Mossa used to cook in a Greek restaurant as well. My man. The thing about being a cook in a Greek restaurant is that the food is awesome, but when you come home and you're away from all the garlic and the lamb, and your shirt's brown, my white work shirt was brown from all of the smoke and sheep fat and so on. As much as I love lamb, my limits were tested. I just have to strip off and jump in the pool when I got home, but I still loved it. Yeah, man, I love Greek food. Non-British still can't remember how Taco Bell tastes. They probably banned it here. Well, I don't know where here is, but if it's Japan, it's opening tomorrow night. Well, it's actually opening on Tuesdays. Chimichangas, yeah, I think I like those. So, yes, anyway, I'm going to, for all the Australians and New Zealanders and people who haven't eaten Taco Bell before, I'm going to be the hamster, the guinea pig. So, boom, let's get into the topic. Scrolling down. First, I actually just saw this about an hour ago, and I talked with the producer of it, who's, of course, a mate. Gaijin, episode 5, the series has restarted. They did 4 awesome episodes on Japan, and the feedback was so good that they're going to be coming back to Japan to do more. But he's gone back to his hometown of Singapore, and they've started recording episodes from Singapore and from Thailand, I understand. So the first episode was a bit of a shorter one, but it was on b-boy culture, dance culture, club culture in Singapore. Particularly the fact that Singapore is kind of famous for being a very heavy policed country. It's kind of, anything fun costs a fine is part of the image, and the idea that people there are so straight-laced and so on. And I think that's part of his mission for this series in Singapore, is to kind of break that apart with a similar kind of approach that he did with Japan. So the first episode of Gaijin, episode 5, is called Hanchai Town, which I've never heard that expression Hanchai before. It was kind of funny to see him cover it. And as usual, I mean, here's a guy. Well, here's what happens when you get a guy who produces satellite travel TV, and he has complete freedom with a camera guy. 2 people just making this thing without any sponsors, without any production or direction or anything like that. This is a personal project that he's doing. And it's so good, and I've got to get him on sometime. Actually, I heard that he's watching. Ace, if you're watching tonight, say hello in the comments so that everyone can say hello to you. First of all, go and check out this thing, because this is what happens when you get a professional travel documentary producer making a web series on YouTube from our perspective. And it's funny, I've been talking with him about it, and I'd love to learn a bunch of stuff from him, and and he's been asking me for a bunch of advice as well, just on starting the channel and so on. But he's really coming in it like a new video blogger, but just who has extraordinary editing and storytelling skills. So really worth a watch. I'm sure you've already seen the Japan episodes, but awesome to see these new ones. And b-boy tripping, if I eat lamb, it is not like cannibalism. Honestly, if that was cannibalism, they would be running New Zealand. And I know that some people in Australia think that they are, but they are not. The humans are still in control. So there. Anyway, the teaser for the Singapore series is awesome for those people who've seen it, and this is the first episode. And I think it delivers. Although I'm really looking forward to the episode after this as well. So in terms of what else is going on this week. I should also mention as well, I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but by McNeil, I retweeted him earlier tonight. He got it in just before the show. His Japan Times piece, where he was interviewing the mixed race, or the multiracial Japanese African American Miss Japan, or I think she won the Miss Universe. There's Miss World and Miss Universe, but I think she won the Japan Miss Universe pageant back in January or February. And indeed, it's a bit of progress to see, multi-ethnic winner. To tell the truth, on those shows, they're not a lot of people participate in them. I mean, and they judge the winners by kind of very Western standards, and it's often very confusing to Japanese how this person is selected as the top in Japan. And there was a bit of controversy this time as well. Although there's no question, I think they've actually picked. There have been a couple who have competed. I'm sorry, this is just so wrong, and I've talked about this before. It's wrong to talk so superficially about women like this, but it is a contest about whether they're good looking and whether they kind of represent the country good looking level, and I think that Ariana Miyamoto definitely is. I mean, she is. She's an outstandingly good looking lady, and born and raised in Japan, so Japanese. I know from bias perspective, it is kind of cool to see someone who looks part black, and I guess skin color wise she is, but culturally, she's from Sasebo, which has a huge US Navy base. I think that's the connection. I'm not exactly sure about that with her family background. I'll find out if I read the article. Yes, she's a Japanese person. She's a Japanese person who happens to have a dark complexion due to her genetic background. It's good to see these people have. There is definitely a history of those people being sidelined. And when I say those people, I mean multi-ethnic. I mean anyone. Sidelined, and I guess at the same time also kind of picked up. I mean, at the same time, it can be good to be a half as well. There are lots of talent and stuff like that. But yeah, you could say that this is definitely a new barrier that's been broken down, and congratulations on that. So I will look forward to reading Baye's piece, and I retweeted it, so you should go check that out. It's not in my articles for today, but I've just spent a few minutes talking about it, so let's keep going on to the topic. So this has been a huge story this week, the Okinawa base relocation drama. And I do want to talk about this. And people are saying Danny Chu won't get back to me. He got back to me a couple of other times, and I thought we got him. Oh, I should talk about who we're going to get on 2.5 Oyajis after I talk about Okinawa. But I will continue plugging away trying to get Danny, and please, maybe you guys can help me try to get Danny's attention. Because I'm trying, but we've got 3 shows lined up actually at the moment. 3 excellent people I think we're planning to get on around the reschedule of the show, because it sounds like Victor can't do Wednesdays anymore, so we might do that on Saturdays, and it might be a Sunday gig. But anyway, Okinawa, what is happening with Okinawa? I've talked about Okinawa before, which is that they're after many years basically of Okinawa being under actual occupation by America between 1945 and 1975, and then after 1975, when they gave Okinawa back to Japan, they still left something like 25% to 30%, somewhat a third of the main island of Okinawa is still on land that was confiscated by the US military for US bases. And the landowners and the people who have their family cemeteries and everything within those base perimeters, they've always had a strong sense of grievance against those bases that occupy their land. And on top of that, then you started getting incidents, and some particular incidents in the 80s and 90s of criminal acts. The things like helicopter accident near a US base, which was beside a university in Okinawa, that crashed, and I don't know if it actually killed anybody on the ground or anything like that, but it was a Black Hawk crash. It was a big crash. And then, of course, there was this terrible rape case in the 1990s of a child by 3 Marines, which looks pretty bad. So the sense of injustice at the land confiscations piled on top of the resentment, plus the lingering complexity of their attitudes towards the US lingering from World War II, on top of bad behavior and actual accidents and stuff like that. It all came to a head where the Americans kind of agreed that they would return one of the largest marine bases in Okinawa, Futenma base, back to the landowners, and they set up a timetable for this, except the problem was they needed a place to relocate those forces to. And they came up with a solution after looking at other options for places inside Japan and outside Japan. It's really hard to find a new place that wants to accept a new marine base. And America, there's a reason those troops are there. They're there in order to protect Taiwan and Korea. They're in a fast deployment area, as well as to protect Japan and Okinawa as well, but primarily to defend US interests in Northeast Asia. So they didn't want to pull them all the way out, and they found out a pretty good solution with the Japanese government, which was to build a new base as an extension of Fort Schwab on the top of the main island, which goes out to the sea. And the idea is that this US base, Fort Schwab, is Camp Schwab, is surrounded by a huge coral reef, beautiful coral reef. I've actually been there myself, Hinoko. I've been on the public areas of the Hinoko reef, and it is actually remarkably beautiful. You can actually walk over it at low tide, and I've got photos from it from when I went there years and years ago. And it's a lovely area, but they decided the solution here was to basically cement over that reef and build a new big air base over there. And that way they would be basically extending an existing base. They wouldn't be taking anyone's land anymore. And it's kind of a solution, and they could give the land back from Futenma. The problem is that it's good for the people who get their land back at Futenma. At the same time, the overall drive of the anti-base movement in Okinawa was definitely to try to reduce the amount of bases and the number of troops on the island and the burden that the island shares for the US base presence. So hearing that it'd be a relocation within the prefecture, of course, went down like a bucket of cold vomit with many of the people who have long been politically defined by opposition to these bases. And this is partly why, by the way, a lot of the local administrations in Okinawa have always been communist. So anyway, there was a long story short. I've told this story many times over before. The last governor who also campaigned on opposition to the base move, and on trying to get the base outside of Okinawa and so on, was basically paid off by Abe. Abe made a huge package of economic promises to improve Okinawa and to reduce the burden. And they asked him what he wants. He gave them a huge shopping list, and they gave him everything. And right after that, they held an election for the governor of Okinawa, which the guy lost because he sold out. And then they elected a new guy who is now steadfastly against allowing the relocation within Okinawa. And they've already started prospecting over this reef and basically drilling boreholes and stuff over this coral reef, which requires some environmental permits to do from the prefecture in order to install buoys and to start putting up the platforms for the new runway. And so the Okinawa prefecture, on the basis that there were some of the buoys that were linked to these concrete blocks that were outside of the environmental permits that were given for the building of the runway, and they were damaging the reef, so they said that they basically got an injunction against the continuing of the work on the space. The Okinawan prefectural government told the US military, "You're not allowed to build the base anymore." Funny thing happened after that, however, which is that the central government basically, when it comes to environmental permits, they're issued and controlled, and injunctions are issued by the administration, is done by the prefectures, but the final say is held by the Minister of the Environment, who is in the Abe cabinet in the central government. So when the new governor made good on his promise that he was going to interfere with the construction of this new runway, he basically, by issuing this injunction to stop it, the Abe Minister of the Environment said, no, there's no problem with this, and overturned the injunction, and now they're still building against the wishes of the Okinawa government. So they sent someone down there to say, to go and have a talk with him, and he said, I'm not happy with this, and where the Okinawa government's going to stop any way that it can the space being relocated within the prefecture. And the government guy said, well, you can say whatever you like, but we're just going to keep doing it anyway, which got everyone more and more upset. So this week he went and talked with the Prime Minister, came to Tokyo and met with Abe, and Abe pretty much told him the same thing. Abe told him, there's no other way. This is the best solution. This means that you get the land back from Phtenma. There's no other way in terms of putting the base anywhere else, so we're sorry about this, and we'll do things to lessen the burden, but this is the only solution, is what Abe said. And the Okinawa governor said back, well, I'm not going to cooperate, I'm going to do everything I can to interfere with it, and I want you to tell the American president that we're against this and we don't want this base relocated within Okinawa. And Abe said, well, I'm going to tell the American president that we want help lessening the burden on Okinawa. But so it came out afterwards. So when they came out, that basically Abe said, no, I'm not going to tell them that, and no, you have to accept the relocation. Okinawa is still against it. So the Okinawa governor came out and said he wants to actually visit America himself and tell the US president directly that Okinawa doesn't want their damn dirty base anymore. So it's a very, very strongly anti-American base government at the moment, which is popularly elected by the people of Okinawa, in power in Okinawa at the moment, which really doesn't want this base to relocate. They want the number of bases and the base presence to reduce on Okinawa. And this is a complicated issue, and basically I've seen some foreign journalists commenting on this, talking about how the heavy-handedness and the way that Abe is handling this is horrible. Abe is handling this exactly the way that Obama and the American administration wants Japan to handle it, actually. The problem here is America, it's Japan doing America's dirty work, as it were, in terms of, the solution is making Okinawa accept it. It's not, there's no other solutions that are going to be put on the table. So it's it's a real standoff at the moment. They are completely opposed, and it looks likely, given that they're saying that the withdrawal of the injunction which the Okinawa prefecture put on the building of this base is unlawful. It's possible now that the Okinawan government could take the central government to court to try to prevent the building of the space, which will have an interesting implication that it will prevent the decommissioning of the Phtenma base, which this is intended to facilitate, which means that those people are not going to get their land back, which is going to cause more aggro. So I don't know. On the one hand, as far as this is a democratic country, and you're kind of winding those people up by ignoring them like this, but at the same time, those bases there are important, and they're important not just for Okinawa, they're important for the whole region. You gotta feel bad for the people in Okinawa. There's also a real right-wing, left-wing dimension on this. The protesters in Okinawa are perceived by the far right as being paid protesters by the Chinese government, who wants to get less US presence in Okinawa so that they can go and play their silly games claiming Okinawan territory and so on. The left wing sees this as kind of a brown shirts and government thugs, mainly from the Post Guard, who are doing the dirty work of the government. Emily Louise Maitland makes a good point there as well, by the way. The only problem is if they reduce the bases, the economy in Okinawa will go to shiz, which is something you hear the Americans say as well. And it's kind of, it's what a lot of people who live near bases actually say. Well, they want to move the base, or they want us not to be so noisy, or they want us to be considerate. Any response they say is, well, it'll affect the economy, and it will affect the economy, but I don't think it's going quite so far. I mean, you could ask what the American... While they have definitely a benefit to some extent for the Okinawan economy, after 30 years of occupation and since then, remains the far behind the lowest. In fact, I think the lowest local government area in Japan is Kumamoto, so it's not the poorest, but I think it's an overall prefecture. It's the poorest prefecture. It's got the highest unemployment. It's got the highest rate of civil servants. It missed out on the whole Japanese economic miracle, so it is still far behind the rest of Japan economically. And it's very clear as well when you see the interviews with the protesters, they don't really care. I mean, but that said, there's no question there are a lot of Okinawans that would support the relocation of the base, because they'll get the work from the construction projects, they'll get the work from the base business, from the new base. So it's not clean cut. It's not a 100% all of Okinawa is against this at all, but there is a clear democratic majority that seems to accept within Okinawa that they don't want this base relocation. And it's interesting. The issues do go bigger than that prefecture, but it does point out again that prefecture, just through its location and its history, is just kind of screwed. And I feel bad about it, but at the same time, I kind of agree with Abe on this one. I mean, I think from my perspective, Japan is not going to take responsibility for defending Taiwan or Korea like America is, and America being there in Okinawa does that, and it's a terrible burden for the people of Okinawa. And I think the kind of solution that they're talking about building a base that doesn't take new land, it is illogical. It's a good compromise solution. The thing is that people who are against this are just against any US bases at all, and that's a tough solution. Benjamin Harris, they just opened a Taco Bell in Okinawa, so wow, we just found out. Okay, so I guess on the bases, they do actually have one on the base here in Yokosuka as well, although maybe it's just that they're not open to the public yet, because this is supposed to be the first official one for Taco Bell Japan. I guess the other thing is that probably the base ones are run by Taco Bell America. You pay with US currency and all that sort of stuff. So this one tomorrow is going to be the number one shop for Japan, which any Japanese can go to in Shibuya, so that'll be pretty awesome. Wow, it's 30 minutes and I've just finished one subject. Okay, I have to speed it up. It's getting hot in here, but I can't take off all my clothes, so I am going to have to turn on the air conditioning because of all these lights. Oh yeah, I just remembered a couple of... Okay, so the 2.5 Oyajis thing that I said I'd say after that. Yes, so we've confirmed with Victor, probably it's going to be Saturdays going forward. I'm going to keep Wednesdays, and I think I might do a live show in Japanese on my Japanese channel on Wednesdays instead. But I'm still thinking about what to do with that. I might even just do I would like to do an interview show on that. So we'll still keep definitely Wednesdays. I'll keep something going, although that's really tough for Victor now. That's why I've been hosting the show most of the time. Saturdays, though, he's got a pass from his wife, so I might do this show by myself, as I like to do on Sundays, and do the show 2.5 Oyajis might move to Saturdays. And in terms of the upcoming shows that we have on 2.5 Oyajis, we have Gregorio, Atomic Boy X, who's going to come on and do a show about the gay scene in Tokyo and being a gay foreigner in Japan, going out with a gay Japanese guy, which I think would be an excellent episode. I'd really love to get him on and have that conversation, and having it with Victor I think would be fun. Then the week after that, all things going to plan, we will have Stu in Tokyo, who's the guy who did the viral video. He was at the YouTube party, the Hanami party, but he's the guy who did the workday thing, which went totally viral and got featured on BBC and CNN and all that sort of stuff. And the other one, which I'm currently talking to at the moment, is Tokyo Cheapo, who I'm going to feature in a minute. But they've got a great guidebook coming out on living cheap in Tokyo. Fits the show, and I'd like to get them on. And it's good to get some people and not just YouTubers as well, to get a bit of a diversity of people. So there's some great shows coming up. We just have to figure out when we can do our show today. Milchman, I can do this. I just have to talk faster. That's all I have to do. I used to actually have speech therapy for talking too fast when I was a kid. I talk too fast for my teachers to understand. I'm pretty good at it. I've actually learned how to speak clearly and slowly since I came to Japan. It sounds like Liverpool just scored. It's a good thing. Liverpool scored in the FA Cup against Aston Villa. Very good. So yes, indeed, Oyaji Saturday. So there will be some people who won't be able to watch it. It'll be harder to get guests in some respect. But Oyaji Saturdays, you'll be able to watch it. Taisha Jason, what will you do with that hour of your life on Wednesdays? I'm going to fill it. I'm going to use that time. I guess it might be difficult with the Japanese show, but I'm still thinking, I'm still toying with what to do with that time, because I want to keep it going, because that is in my routine now, and I quite like having that Wednesday commitment, which I've been keeping for a few years now. Yes, indeed, Lisa sometimes Stu is an awesome dude. He is indeed. Anyway, next subject. Senkyo. There's the second round of local government elections. They had the first round 2 weeks ago. Hokkaido, Kyushu, Fukuoka, all over the place. Now they're doing the second round, and this includes Tokyo this time. So, interesting time in my life. I'm looking to move at the moment. I'm hoping to hear this week. Well, I'm either going to be incredibly happy or incredibly depressed in the next couple of days, because, as usual, the Gaijin thing does make it a little bit tough looking for apartments here. You do get to some stages, and some landlords just don't want to have one. So even if you're a permanent resident and you've got a family, they still don't want one sometimes. So we're getting through it, but I made some progress on one, and hopefully we'll find out in a few days if it's clear or not. If it does, it means that I will be... I always keep quiet where I currently work and where I currently live and that sort of stuff, just common sense stuff. But I'm feeling comfortable that I will be going out of the current ward that I'm in. I've been living in Shinjuku ward for the last 9 years, and I will be probably moving out of Shinjuku ward to another ward in Tokyo soon. And so I'm comfortable actually saying, I even tweeted today the election poster boards of all of the Shinjuku candidates. Shinjuku is a fantastic place politically. If I was going to get the vote, and there is talk about giving voting rights to permanent residents in Japan, it's been very controversial. The right-wingers who don't like this really don't like this, because the majority of permanent residents are, of course, Chinese and Koreans, including a lot of North Koreans and mainland Chinese. And there's a view, and actually even there's this view in New Zealand and countries where they can vote. This is a way to allow foreign government manipulation of Japanese politics and society. I think that's an extremely paranoid view. If they live here, there's a natural interest in participation in local governance and politics. But that said, this is a right that Japanese people have to decide to bestow. And the debate has to continue, and it might not happen, but at least to the extent that it's being debated, there was a law drafted up to allow permanent residents to vote, not in national elections, but in local government elections, which would include the elections that are happening at the moment, which would allow me theoretically to vote in the Shinjuku elections, although that hasn't happened this time. Interestingly enough, the current governor of Tokyo, Masuzoi, he's from the LDP, but he used to be the Minister of Health, and he seems to be a fairly socially aware guy. I mean, it's natural, I guess, if you're from that ministry portfolio. And he's actually in favor of allowing foreign residents to vote. I guess he knows as well that I would definitely give him a freebie. Freebie vote. If he gave me, I would vote for him at least once if he gave me the vote. And it would be fun. And so I do, I watch the politics here with an interest anyway. It's just fun. And plus I get to have the discussion with my wife about how it goes. But the reason I think Shinjuku is a great place to be a voter, especially if they were to allow permanent residents, is just because there's a huge Korean town. There's the Shinjuku ward office, which is in the middle of Kabukicho, by the way, which is always fun to go and visit. Pretty much, I mean, it seems like, I know it's like 1 in 20 people, I think, in Shinjuku are foreign, but you go there, given that almost all those foreigners are married to a Japanese in something, it multiplies out. When I've been there for like the birth and family registration, stuff like that, it seemed like nearly half the people in the government there are are foreigners, not necessarily permanent residents. But it just means that you've got a really, really interesting, extremely diverse, economically, socially, ethnically, probably the most diverse, we're probably the most cosmopolitan ward in Japan. And there's a huge population in it, so there's some really interesting candidates. Of course, you've got the right wing and the left wing, the communists and the LDP and everything, but you've also actually, for example, there's a guy who's actually just campaigning on being internationally minded, and he's a mainland Chinese who recently naturalized and became Japanese, and he's campaigning for the local Shinjuku government, which I think is just kind of cool. It's just nice that we have this sort of choice. Just the fact that this sort of thing probably makes people hysterically scared in some rural parts of Japan who are afraid of the idea of letting foreigners vote, that there are these naturalized foreigners who are running for office, especially a Chinese guy. But that's what I think makes it kind of cool. The other thing that's kind of interesting is that Shibuya Ward recently recognized civil unions of LGBT people, issuing certificates that allowed them certain rights that were the equivalent of marriage without actually being marriage certificates. It's kind of interesting. Shibuya went and did that before Shinjuku did, given that Shinjuku also has the largest gay district in Japan, Nichome, which we're going to talk about with Atomic Boy X next week. So, you know, when you talk about very diverse people and values and whatever, it's going to be. I'm going to keep watching and keeping up to date. I also know it kind of drives some people nuts. Actually, some extremists out there, it drives them nuts when I talk politics. So I think showing a healthy interest in my local election is probably going to do that, and I'm going to do that kind of in a reverse troll sense as well, because it is just fun, and it's something that I think you should always be aware of, even if you don't have a say. I pay taxes in Shinjuku, and you know, I've got an interest. My wife has no interest whatsoever. In fact, most of these elections, no one. There are some places like Nagasaki and the city of Tsu. No one's even running, apparently. They asked who wants to run for mayor, so the election was declared over on the first day. It shows these people saying banzai, banzai, and I just want to thank everybody. They're saying, they're giving these acceptance speeches. They want to thank everyone for what? For being too unmotivated to even contest the election. It's a sad trend in Japanese local politics that no one wants to be a local politician anymore. Apparently it's a lot of stress, it's got a negative image, and it's not that great pay. But fortunately Shinjuku is healthy and it is being contested. There is a guy not in Shinjuku but in Chiyoda Ward, which is next door. It's adjacent to Shinjuku. They touch it. It's the one where Tokyo Station is. For example, Chiyoda Ward. There is a young guy campaigning there saying that he is campaigning based on he will not use any mailers and he won't use any sound cars, because he's talking about how I love his homepage. I think he should be honest and say he's just got no money for it. But so what does he say here? He says that you know, sound cars, election sound cars are not fitting the current age that we live in. They wake up babies. They prevent people who are working night shifts from sleeping when these things come around during the day. And you know, to cold call people or whatever is sickening, and it makes people feel like you're dodgy, and I'm not going to do it. And I'm like, yeah, I want that guy to run in Shinjuku. He's running in Chiyoda, and I'd almost go to Chiyoda and become Japanese just to vote for him. But what is his name? His name is Yamashita Takeori, and he's a 30-year-old new guy. And he's obviously got no money, and that's why he's not running a sound car. But I like how he is also, it's the bane of elections, the sound cars that go around with deafening speakers campaigning, trying to make people recognize their names. Oh, man, I'm never going to get this whole show done in 1 hour. That's like 2 stories in 40 minutes. And Phil Nolan, I didn't say boobies, but thank you for watching. There's a Taco Bell shop access wrap thing. Apparently Yum Yum Sesame is very excited about this, and she tweeted this, and I saw this, and it's a bit like what I hear about Taco Bell. You know, it's not bad, it's not exactly good either, but we'll see. You know, so it's good. It helped me figure out where I have to go tomorrow. So I saw that. Charlotte in Japan and Rachel in June both posted videos on tips for learning Japanese, and they're both pretty good. So recommended. Go and watch them. I can give you tips on Japanese. I dropped out of Japanese. I think I've told the story before. I dropped out of Japanese at university in my second year. I talked my way into being allowed to do a single third-year paper, which was Keigo in Japanese business and business Japanese, which was the best subject I could have taken, because you spend an entire year just practicing doing job interviews. And then I came to Japan and did job interviews and got hired in a job that I was completely unequipped to do, which was being a management consultant in an IT company. But then it was just sink or swim. I had to speak Japanese to survive. And you know, the brain is a funny thing. I always talk about the brain being like a muscle. You know, it will, if you're suddenly put in a situation that you have to do 1,000 press-ups every day and you can only do 50, you know, sooner or later you'll have to do 1,000 you'll do 1,000 press-ups. It'll just be part, you got to work walking on your arms. It'll just become normal. It's like surfing. You surf every day, you become fit for it. So Japanese is like that, and because it's like that, the best thing you can do in my mind is not to prepare and flashcards and vocab. That's very good for doing the JLPT exams, but the best way is to immerse yourself. And when I say immerse yourself, it's not to have 3 TVs turned on with anime at the same time, although you can do that if you like, but you can do that. In fact, you can do that. But what immersion is turning on 3 TVs with anime at the same time and locking the door and swallowing the key so that you cannot escape that room. Or doing the equivalent. I find it easier to actually just have Japanese music and Japanese TV on all the time. And for example, when I was in New Zealand, I shared an apartment with Japanese people. I found Japanese roommates. I got a Japanese girlfriend. Although I actually spoke in English with her in New Zealand, but through her I made Japanese friends. I was just able to surround myself with it. And I also got a part-time job at a Japanese souvenir shop. I just found ways that I could not escape, even if I wanted to. Is Victor here? Someone say Victor? Someone say hi, Victor. I saw Legit Outlaw say hi, Victor. Oh, sorry, it's Kanto Kitsune. Yes, indeed, Victor Gonzalez. Good to see you, and Ahmed. Great to see you as well. Well, it's a good crowd. It's a good crowd in the comments today. So that's my main tip with that. Is one, don't prepare. Don't get hooked up on preparation. Just throw yourself in. Don't give yourself an escape, and don't try to escape, especially if you get exhausted. Keep going. And the other thing is, don't try to be too clever. Keep it simple, and be creative. I mean, it's not a knowledge; it's a creativity thing. It's not knowing 10,000 words so that you can just translate one-to-one everything that you know in English. It's about taking those 20,000 words you know in English and expressing what you want to express with 1,000 words or 500 words, and being creative at doing that. It's actually there's a thing which some of my artist friends and my creative friends say. It's the biggest instiller of creativity is limitation. Actually, it's funny if you give an artist an assignment, say go crazy, just paint whatever you like. A creative assignment like that is terrible. You'll look at a blank piece of canvas for ages and have no idea what to do. You come up with crap. But giving them the more limitations you have, it's funny. It can actually stimulate that urge to adapt, and it actually is far more stimulating to have lots of limitations. And that's how you should look at language. Take those words that you've got and paint a Picasso with them, as it were. Not even paint a Picasso, just paint an improvised map of how to get to the convenience store. But that's what it's about. It's about surviving with what you got, and not getting hung up and stopping, and not being afraid of embarrassing yourself. And getting embarrassed is good as well. All that stuff anyway. But that's my advice. But you can go and check out Rachel and Jun's and Charlotte's advice, because their links are here in my magazine, of course, the flipboard of my Tokyo Tonight topics. Population's gone down for the 4th year in a row. Yeah, population stuff is very relevant, but I'm going to skip over that. How to learn Japanese from Sharla. That's Sharla, and she's telling you how to learn Japanese, like Rachel. I don't know, maybe I should actually, that would be a good video if I actually watched them both and I actually made them fight against each other somehow and compete, because they did the same video topic at the same time. I don't know if it was intentional or not. But yes, I actually discovered I unintentionally did the same video topic as Bobby Judo recently on use of first names. It was actually a question I got from Gakuranman. No, it wasn't. It was from Jordan Colston, I think. Did I just say his full name? I just said his full name. Well, anyway, you don't know who he is. He's just a dude. But yes, I got I think it was that guy anyway, who was asking about the first name thing. And I gave a Japanese advice video on it recently, and I just discovered when I was going to go and do a video talking about Bobby Judo's recent videos in Japanese, which I just recorded before the show, he actually did the same thing. Well, it bugs foreigners, right? So you can find out about that if you're watching Japanese. Charles has to go. Good night. See you later, Charlie no Seikatsu. And I can do this. We've got 5 minutes. I can cover the rest of the topics. I can do this. Under Abenomics, another interesting indicator that the gap between the most wealthy local government in Japan, which is Minato Ward, which is also adjacent to Shinjuku, that's where Roppongi and Azabu Juban and all the rich banker expat white people neighborhoods are, and a town in Kumamoto somewhere which has the lowest income is 6.5 times, and that's increased. It's interesting. Texan in Tokyo has a new book coming out in June 1st, 2015. She is writing a new book, Confessions of a Texan in Tokyo. Her third book and her first two were awesome. I've got them here. So boom, I'm going to be getting another one to add to the collection from her, because her books are awesome, and that's something I'm definitely looking forward to. And I think I don't know if you can already pre-order it or not. I should say that. It probably has it there actually. But anyway, if you don't have her first 2 books, I really do recommend them. Actually, I actually said this to her when I met her at the Hanami party. She's smart. I mean, she's the way that she writes, it's just very clear, very insightful. She makes really, really good points, just really, really clearly, and she thinks deeply about it. I mean, a lot of the comics are not always that deep, but the little essays in between are magic, you know. And I think she's got a lot of real insight, and she's got a really good perspective on things, and a different one to mine, because she's living a very different type of life. She's got a different type of husband, whatever, and I don't know. I just love her books, and I can't wait for this next one. So, I mean, that next one, Confessions of a Texan in Tokyo, is already considered bought in my book, and you should totally go and check that out and follow that up. Benjamin Harris is complaining that he's broke from all the books. Come on, they're cheap. Hey, she was giving away her book for free on Kindle. How can she be making you broke? Seriously. I mean, unless she's costing you electricity or something like that. I don't know, charging your iPad or something. Anyway, 50 free Japanese compatible fonts. You know I love fonts, and as soon as I find this, I share it with everybody. You should know about this. These are fonts that have all the kanji, and they look good. Can never have too many fonts. 50 of them here. Go have a look, and if you write Japanese and you want some nice fonts to use, go and check out what's there. These are all free available fonts in Japanese that are kanji compatible. 50 of them. Latest ones, awesome. And I haven't actually gone through and updated mine yet. I think there are some that I already have, but there are some new ones as well, so I'm going to update that. This was kind of a good article. This is kind of related to the trapped in Japan syndrome, trapped white men. And this is kind of a point that Victor and I were making, that it's not just trapped white men. It's actually, honestly, it's just, one, it's partly just marriage, and 2, it's just partly Japan culture in general. And there are some truths here which actually are Japan specific, but that Japan Times article didn't really pick out which were actually Japan and which were just general life things. But it's kind of funny. There was a survey done somewhere of these men who kind of ended up, I think it was a Nichan thread or something, that ended up with these kind of very, very cynical, very married with children, El Bundy type comments about how they see before life and life before marriage and after marriage. And it's very funny, and it's very worth reading. But I'm going to skip over it. When I say it's very worth reading, it's not really worth reading, but it's fun. You know, it's good for that. Josh Charlton, I didn't say fonts, I said fonts, but maybe fonts. Why not? This one is McDonald's. They're shutting down 190 McDonald's restaurants in Japan. They're having this huge disaster. They can't sell anything at the moment because they've had these food scandals. They changed the menus. Frankly, they've kind of just screwed the goose on a lot of things lately, and they're shutting down 190 of their shops. And it's kind of funny, even when I came to Japan, I think McDonald's, no question actually, McDonald's is way bigger in Japan than in New Zealand. It's kind of funny how something that's so American is actually far more entrenched in Japan than it is in other Western countries. But it's been through a real rough patch. It's losing a lot of sales, and they're reacting by cutting back at the moment. They're going to try to regroup and build up again, which I kind of hope they do at the same time. I mean, I gotta say, I stopped eating McDonald's 2004. I stopped eating for about 10 years, and it was because I got a raw meat patty once, and it just kind of grossed me out, and I just decided I just don't need this in my life anyway, let alone dealing with that. That's what happened, actually. It was something which actually happened specifically to me, and the thing was, after 10 years, when I went back, the first burger I went back and got, I got the same thing again. It's never happened before or since, actually, and I've kind of gotten less uptight, and I actually have McDonald's every now and then now, but Mr. Korichep, marriage is not bad in Japan. Well, it's the same in Japan as everywhere, with little Japanese quirks, which you can kind of see there from depressed Japanese husbands. But yeah, and they do ring true from a lot of Japanese friends, and there's things there which I recognize as well. I mean, it's just a life thing. But yeah, poor old McDonald's anyway. Well, poor old McDonald's, I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it's not. I mean, are we really worse off for there being fewer McDonald's restaurants? But it is an interesting sign, especially at a time when other fast food chains are trying to come to Japan. I never really got why Wendy's kept failing or why Burger King failed, because I thought that they were better burgers. But yeah, McDonald's held on, but now they're trying to come back, so I don't know, we'll see. It does honestly look like mismanagement from here. But I really hope that they turn it around, and, they've got an American CEO, a lady called something Miss Casanova, which is a fantastic name. Although unfortunately she's not quite finding how to romance Japanese customers yet. But hopefully that will happen anyway. They will get back. What else we got here? Denchari. I've got a Denchari, which is an electric powered electric assisted mama's bicycle. So I can put my son on the back. It's got a huge, I can put my work bag, everything on the front. It's awesome. It's like a tank. It's really heavy. My bike is like 35 kilos. But it's got this battery assisted. It doesn't actually power. It's not motorized. Like these electric bicycles in China, you actually have to pedal, and it assists the pedaling, and it actually detects how much you're struggling, you know, how hard you're pushing, and it assists that. So it helps you go up hills and down hills, and you know, and it's, yeah, they're great. I've had one for a few years now. They're expensive, cost about $1,000. But it's one of the best purchases I got. It lets me go very comfortably. It's like having a station wagon that you can park anywhere. Parking is very hard with cars in Tokyo. Owning cars is very difficult in Tokyo, but bicycles are easy. And with this, I can take my son pretty much anywhere within central Tokyo. I mean, you know, everything's actually very short distances. And I love them. I love them. There's an interesting article here. It's only covered in Japanese, and I've seen some other people saying about this, about how this was... I don't actually believe that this was actually covered in Korean media the way that it's being reported in Japanese media. But there's someone saying actually there's a Korean history textbook recently on the comfort woman issue. Oh god, I could talk about this one forever. On the comfort woman issue, which actually says that there was some point about it didn't. The question, the whole debate between the fine debate between Korea and Japan is not whether there were comfort women or not. It's about a very specific point. Well, it goes back and forth, but one of the key points is a very specific point, which is whether the Japanese military deliberately, as part of a policy, hunted and kidnapped Korean women and press-ganged them into service as sex slaves. The Japanese side has always insisted that there was no such thing. The Japanese military did not go around abducting women. They did do it. Well, there were cases of it in Indonesia, and of it involving, Dutch citizens and other citizens in other parts. But even then, it was not part of military policy to do that. That was those were people who were court-martialed and executed during wartime by the Japanese when they were caught doing it. There were instances of that sort of thing happening. But the thing about the Korea thing, there's always been this thing that there were some people who put out some fake stories, and the Asahi newspaper got in trouble for putting out a fake story, saying that there was a unit that was specifically dedicated to the purpose of abducting women for sex slavery, which never existed. That was a fake story. The Korean side always insists that there was compulsion, that there was this coercion and abduction aspect to it, and the Japanese government's kind of said, well, there's no proof of that. And, as far as we're concerned, that didn't happen. And that was one of the key parts of the whole comfort woman apology that happened back in 1993, was the negotiation of whether to acknowledge that there was direct coercion by Japanese military or not, or whether it was the Japanese military taking advantage of a human trafficking system that involved also Korean pimps and Korean human traffickers that were feeding a system paid for and run by the Japanese government, which in itself is still obviously bad and unforgivable. But there's this one detail, which is kind of the point that Abe, or based on that whole point, tries to say the whole thing is invalid, which isn't right. But it's kind of interesting. The Korean side's always pushed that no, there was coercion. These people were, But apparently there's a textbook in Korea recently which on this point, the Korean government removed the point of abduction, saying, well, there's no proof of that. We should emphasize that this was basically sexual crimes against these women. What happened in the event that they became comfort women. And there's a huge outcry against the Korean government for doing this one edit to this one history textbook in Korea, saying that if you make that admission, we lose the whole debate with the Japanese. It's the opposite. In a way, it almost sounds like a fixed story, actually, because it's the same sort of argument that Japanese people make. It's kind of immaterial, if you ask me. I mean, I don't think there is a point which some make, which is that because somebody does something wrong, it doesn't make it totally okay to go and make up a whole bunch of extra stuff. But at the same time, you shouldn't make vindication on one technicality a vindication of the whole thing. So that's where this whole debate's so difficult and so awkward. It is interesting to see that debate is apparently still going on even within Korea at the moment, with this specific case, just because it is such a sensitive topic. So yes, Japanese style. Oh yeah, so there's two blogs I subscribed to recently in my RSS. One has Victor Gonzalez, Mr. Kanto Kitsune there. He is one of the people involved in this Japanista, which is pretty good. It's got a lot of articles. It's very much like like what? It is like Rocket News. The same sort of thing, kind of, fun, light, a lot of good reading at the moment based on just sort of news topics and Japanese culture topics and travel topics and so on. A great guide here on bringing medicine into Japan. It's a brand new blog and it's got pretty good content. I mean, I've added it to my RSS favorite blogs feed, so that is awesome. And there are also some people in the community involved in that, so go and support it. Go and link on their stuff. I'm already tweeting some of the articles that I picked out that I think are good, so go check out Japanista. Maybe get him or someone from Japanista on the show on 2.5 Oyajis sometime. That'd be pretty cool. The other one that I've seen, I also found this week randomly, is called Tsunagu Japan, and it's the same sort of thing. It's a travel guide. It looks like it's pretty good quality content. I found it pretty interesting, and I also added that to my RSS as well. So it's great to see that there are new good quality blogs to add to the existing great ones out there. And there's pretty tough competition between Gaijin Pot, Tofugu, Rocket News. But this is another one that for now I'm putting in those categories, and I hope that they keep up the good work with that. So good stuff, Japanista and Kanto Kitsune and Tsunagu Japan. Red Revival, just an interesting piece from The Economist talking about the local election results in the first round and how it's kind of funny because everyone is still so disillusioned with the Democrat Party in Japan, and they still don't have a clue. They still haven't come to any sort of terms as to what they did wrong that got their asses so completely kicked when they got kicked out of government. And yes, it turns out that because of that, after all these opposition parties that were coming up so strong a few years ago, now in these most recent local government elections, the biggest opposition party by far is the Communist Party in Japan now, outside of the government parties. And this is with record low turnout. Like, most people just don't even care anymore. So that was kind of interesting. The communists are doing great in Japan. And indeed, the guy who was actually running to be the Democrat leader and ended up not becoming the Democrats' leader, Hosono, he actually said the Democrats should have a sense of crisis over the fact that of how badly they're polling on local elections at the moment. It says that they haven't addressed what they need to address. Interesting story here that at Onsen in Nagano, there's kind of this more adaptation. Now they're getting more and more foreigners. They're trying to figure out a flexible way to deal with foreigners with tattoos. Rather than having this rule that keeps them out, and it upsets a lot of people. So they've come up, this one onsen in Nagano's come up with a rule that if you have a tattoo that can be covered by a patch, which they give to you of a certain size, small tattoos, Japanese or foreign, provided you cover them up when you're in the onsen, you can enter. It's still kind of funny. I guess you still know that guy's got a tattoo if he's got a patch there, or he's had a horrible accident. I guess you wouldn't want to go in there if you had an accident because they think you have a tattoo. But at least, it's trying to. It is a small recognition of the fact that it's not just yakuza who have tattoos anymore, and they can do this. They can be a bit more flexible. So that's a good sign to see. Again, coming by Rocket News. So we're coming up on the. I can do this. I can fit this in. In defense of cat videos, Jerry Seinfeld made a very interesting comment on YouTube earlier this week. He talked about the success of his Crackle, I think, the online video provider which provides his new content, and I think some of his old stuff and so on as well. And he talked about how great it was and how he's getting into web video, but how he'll never go onto YouTube because it's just kind of a garbage. It's a garbage repository of user-generated content. And I think what was the comment? He kind of said, what he produces is actual talent, which is what people actually want to see, and it's pretty good having a pyramid when you're on the top of the pyramid, right? Which is actually a fair comment, actually. I can see it from his perspective. He's made millions off a system which is designed to control distribution and ensure quality of content, and he's gotten to the top of that pyramid, indeed. But that said, there's been it's also triggered one that makes him look extremely douchey that he said that, because he's actually attacking his audience, kind of, because his audience are the user-generated content makers. That's us, and we love him. But screw you for saying that. And at the same time as well, there are some people who come up with some very, very good responses, including this one that I've put there in defense of cat videos, just talking about how it must be pretty crushing for someone like him to realize that there are cats caught on webcams that have more views than some of his episodes of Seinfeld now, which is funny. There's a great feature in Nippon.com, another great Japan blog, on the Kanji Kente exam, which is actually the kanji test that Japanese people take. And so one particular American who gives some advice on sitting it, which is I found that really fascinating to read, so that's good to see. Another big theme has been how the Abe government's been pressuring the media lately. They called up NHK and Asahi this week saying, you have to be more even-handed. But it looks like they're trying to bully the press into being less critical of them now, which is getting some interesting attention. Chappie, the movie Chappie, which I haven't seen, but it's a Neil Blomkamp, District 9 director movie. It's coming out in Japan, and for the Japan version, apparently as well, it's an R18 in most other countries. I saw the trailer for it actually recently, and they've got the Antwerp, South African kind of techno punk kind of group. Oh man, they're so good. I love the Antwerp actually, and they're like major characters in this movie. It's kind of, it's another one of those kind of South Africans as a legitimate kind of exotic movie location because it's a South African director. But yeah, it's an R18 movie, but apparently in Japan they want to turn it into kind of a short circuit remake, and apparently they've censored it so heavily that it's a PG-12 in Japan. And apparently the director doesn't know anything about that, but on top of the release being late for the translation, they're also going to censor the hell out of it to turn it into a Johnny 5 movie, which is kind of in essence what it sounds like this is about. But yeah, I would quite like to see the original version. So yeah, if you want to see it properly, you're going to have to wait until the DVD or whatever comes out, the Blu-ray or whatever, and you can watch the full uncut version. But all the Japanese are complaining about how these movies are getting neutered and ruined as they're brought in by these clueless movie distribution companies. Yep. Osaka manga artist is more links with the Arab world and Japanese culture through manga, which is cool to see. What else? Tokyo Cheapo. These are the guys that they've got a travel guide to Tokyo coming out on how to get by cheap and have lots of fun cheap in Tokyo. I want to get them on 2.5 Oyajis. I've been in touch with them. Go and check out the link there for the preview for their travel guide. This is the Chinese guy who recently nationalized, and he's running for Shinjuku. Yes, Shinjuku. The fighting, what do they call the fighting Shinjuku district? I don't know. Anyway, I can't vote in it, but he can because he's a citizen, he's naturalized, and he's running for election in one of the seats, and so that's kind of cool. Although I will not vote for him if he goes around in one of those noisy cars. That's more on Seinfeld, more on the media pressure. This guy was able to leave Seoul after 9 months of not being allowed to leave the country for criticizing for defamation of the Korean president, specifically for translating local gossip magazines talking about where was President Park on the day that the Sewol sank. Was she with a male secretary lover or something like that? And reprinting that Korean media content in Japanese on a Japanese site, rather than go and attack the Korean media guys, they took this guy from a right-wing newspaper that has a lot of opinions on history revisionism that the Korean government doesn't like, and they decided to make an example out of him. It's a political example, and they basically, for an article that the government didn't like, they talk about pressure on the media, they put him under virtual house arrest, prevented him leaving the country for 9 months. They let him leave just before Abe is due to go to America, where he was going to raise this with the Americans as these Koreans being, heavy-handed and suppressing free speech. So it's partly to avoid Korean, the Japanese interpretation is that it's to avoid Korean embarrassment that they let him go. But we'll see. Great blog here by Gaijinpot.com. I was just talking about the great blogs that are out there on Japanese apartment layouts. And indeed, I'm looking at apartments at the moment. Looking for 3 LDK. I'm going to have a new room that I'm going to be doing videos from, and you can find out what all that means. There's an excellent guide here from Gaijin Pot in English, which if you're going to be coming to Japan and looking for apartments, this is what you got to look at. And yes, indeed, and that's it, I think. Yes, otherwise it's just stuff from last week. So, boom, I got through it all. We are coming up on, what is the time? It is 1 hour. Well, actually, it's 58 minutes here, so we've got 2 minutes to go. So how about I switch into comment fun time, and then I start setting up for doing a track. And by the way, what I'd first like to go to the Bindeck, and I don't know if they can tell you where the cheapest soap blend is, but you'll have to buy it to find out. I don't know. You could have it. I don't know. They look pretty sketchy. The guys who they did a very excellent promotion video for the travel guide. So anything is possible. I'd like to get you guys' opinion. Would you like to hear me do a kind of a light drum and bass track, or would you like me to hear me do a bit of a dubby reggae track? I'm going to record one of the two. I've got two which I've been playing around with, which I think are ready for recording, but it's up to you guys which one makes the cut. So please feedback. I'll take a vote now. And yes indeed, tell me any questions, any topics, any requests. You can make them now. I'm looking at the comments right now. And why are their thumbs down? Because haters gonna hate. Who cares? Seriously. That's what haters do. And they never watch, so it's a worthless thing. But what can you care about it? Honestly, you care about that, you might as well not be on YouTube, right? So we have a vote for drum and bass there from Phil Nolan. What else we got? W with a little cowbell, so we've got one vote for dub, we've got one vote for drum and bass. I need some more W reggae. We've got W reggae 2. Jericho as well, reggae. So it looks like, okay, the drum and bass I'm gonna release later this week. But for now, I am going to let me just check. We've got sounds and boom, 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 boom. Now we go into the setup booms. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go back to mine. And we can do it on it. Okay. Hawaiian luau music, please. Well, that would be good. Percussion and thumps, light drum and bass. See, Kanto Kitsune, I'm probably actually with you. I would like to do that, but Tatu, don't be naughty. EDM, yeah. It's funny. There's some more votes for drum and bass. I'm for the drum and bass, but I definitely saw some. I saw some Wikipedia's asking for some twerking. But I think it was definitely a majority dub vote there. So okay. With that, let me line this up and wind this up. Let me set that up there. And you know what else? Let me get some atmosphere going here, which means I've got to disconnect that. And okay, get a bit of the club vibe. Oh, let's turn that off as well. Boom. And let us click in to the sounds of the Korg. Bada boom. And so, first thing is, I guess I got to check that the sounds go through, and I want to make sure I don't deafen anyone. So this is the drum and bass one. Oh, okay. Sorry, that was a bit too loud. Sorry about that. My bad. Okay, so that's the drum and bass track, which I'll give you a little preview of. Anyway, that's going to come at you later. I'll go back to the W1. So, boom. Okay. So let's do a live recording of this one. The only things I just need to check. This is actually, I've just been playing this like non-stop, like this lately. I like just playing that loop just over and over like that actually. That's pretty sweet, isn't it? Even if I say so myself. So let's turn on the live recording. So let's see. Okay. So let's do this. Let's check the volume. Okay, that's not blasting any of those speakers. Okay, boom, let's go, let's do this. Okay. honestly, I quite like it just like this. This isn't bad. Let's do an outro from this, keep it short. It needs a bass line though, but I'm thinking of background music for this. See, this is playable while I talk. That's what I like about this, and that's kind of what I was thinking. All my other stuff is so bassy, you can hardly talk it. Well, you know what? It could be controversial. I could drop a bass on this. Okay, well, I'm going to finish the recording, and then I'm going to try some experiment with some bass stuff. Okay, so hang around a bit. Okay, now that was good. So I'm going to upload that one, but I'm gonna come back and record another thing up, or maybe I won't record. I'm just gonna play around, but I'm gonna try with some bass. The thing is that the bass makes it hard to talk over. So let me just try. What should I call that? Someone give me a name for the track. And yes, I will put that on a loop because I quite like that. I've just been listening to that, and I literally listened to that till I went to sleep the other night. It's pretty good actually, I think. So what should I call that? It's gonna have a Tokyo Stoner's Requiem. That's not bad actually. Stoner's Requiem. It's a pretty good title. Except, what do I call this? What do I call this? Come on, dreaming about Eden. God, I need a title. All my stuff I call beaches. So you know what? I'm gonna call this one Kitasomo, which is my favorite beach experience in Japan. Kita. And it's 10 kilometers away from Fukushima, and it's from the nuclear reactor. Soma. Okay, Soma. Boom. My outro, and upload that. And I'm gonna come back and let's try this with some bass. Taco Bells. Yeah, I think the name's getting a bit crazy there. So, you know, I was tempted to do something while recording it live, which I want to try doing now. Is I didn't want to mess it up, frankly. Come on, hurry up and upload. So give that a second. But anyway, I think if I switch that little bell thing, the dun dun dun, what if I switch that to a real heavy drop bass in the middle of that? So do you want to hear me do a drop bass for that? So what would happen if I took this? Okay, let's just do one thing there. Alright, and make this a new one. Boom. Let's do the bass version. So what would happen if I took this and I made it evil bass? Where is the evil bass? Come on, okay, switch it to bass. Oh, that's good. That's not bad. Try to figure out the bass. Full bass. Too high up there. It's actually not as good. I quite like the evil one. Let's just try some sequential bass. Some potential there. Oh, that works. That works. Let me hold it a bit longer. I wish I could fade it a bit better. I think this is recordable. That's nice. Don't make that. I'll record that. That's nice. There we go. It's pretty sweet. I'm going to keep that one. Boom. Save that stuff. Boom. So, that is my second outro, and I've actually got a drum and bass, very light drum and bass, because I've been thinking of stuff that's easy to talk about, but it's pretty sweet, isn't it? You can just loop that forever and just have that as background music on a video. In fact, that is what I'm going to do for my outro, so you can still hear me, and that is my music. And thank you for watching me again on Tokyo Tonight. This is actually, it's quite nice if I darken it, isn't it? It's much easier to see the chord at work. So have a good night, everybody. And I'll probably upload this as well. I'll put a track, I'll put a name on this. It works, doesn't it? I'm going to call this one Minami Soma. Makes sense, Kita-sama, Minami-sama, and I'll make the loops available for this as well, so that you can use this as a background on your videos if you want to do that. I'm Hikosaemon, this is Tokyo Tonight. I'll see you guys again Wednesday night. We will still have a show this Wednesday night, although it might be the last one for 2.5 Oyajis, and I will see you again this time next week, as we do every week, 11 PM Sunday night, Tokyo Night. Have a good one. Peace. Boom. That's pretty good. Good ending. Okay, stop streaming. See you later. See you, Rikana the Fairy. Good to see you.